Hey, what do you say, Frankmeisters? It's been a minute. How's everybody doing this evening? And good evening to everyone. Glad to see everybody showing up and want to hang out for a little bit. Just wanted to come on. There's some things I needed to address when it comes to the Delphi case and some things I needed to talk about with some of these scarecrows. But before I decide to go through and give a shout out to everybody, I got a special guest, and I'm sure everybody's been wanting to see this individual. So, for further ado, let's bring them on. Miss Kristen behind the crime door.
Hi guys.
How you been?
Good. I'm doing good.
Oh, well, that's good. I know you had,
Recovering. I'm
yeah.
just recovering. It's been 10 days,
You
10,
look good though. You do look
11
good.
days. Yeah.
You
Thank
look
you.
good.
I'm feeling pretty good. For everything I've been through from that surgery, I absolutely think I'm doing fabulous.
Well, good. I'm glad to see that things are moving right along for you.
Yeah. You look
So
good.
thank you. Me and you talked about this backstage, and Deb even mentioned something about this situation in her video today. For the ones of us that have been involved with this case for as many years as we have, that have gotten time to spend with the families and attended all the court hearings, the trial, and all of that stuff, and then sitting back and watching all the shit that's going on YouTube behind the scenes and all the shit talking, and it was to the point where me and Deb had to walk away for a little bit. We had to,
Hey, I get it. I totally and absolutely am right there with you. I told everybody at the memorial walk when we had lunch, and people were asking me why I wasn't live and why I wasn't going live and why I had done so few lives since the beginning of the year. And I was like, look, I really needed to take a step back and get my mental health under control.
right.
I mean, it was so exhausting going through the trial and going through everything. And for you guys, it was even far worse than for me because I was living it every day, but I wasn't there. And until
Right.
you go there and experience it, which I did twice, and when you do that, just those 2 times was so exhausting. So for you guys to be there every day,
Right.
for weeks on end,
I mean,
I don't know how they did it. I'm serious.
well, you've experienced the bad anxiety I have. We was all at the doghouse after the sentencing, and it was just like I had to get out of there. It was just too much for me,
Yep.
And I haven't been back to Delphi since then. But I talked to Becky yesterday or the day before, and I told her, I said, I do plan to be back up in Delphi in August for the Bacon Fest because I really enjoyed the Bacon Fest last year.
I'm gonna come if everything goes according to plan. I'm gonna come back for Bacon Fest.
And I met a lot of friends up there. I like to see some people, you know. But the reasoning for, like I said, for this live is we need to just put the shit out there and let these people know. Quit using your subscribers, your followers, and lying to them about shit to make money.
Yep.
That is the dirty, rotten shit that people can do.
Yep. I mean, absolutely.
It's just
I'm
dirty.
like, if clicks and views are all they're about, then whatever. But stop hurting. Go to a different type of genre. Don't cover true crime and don't cover true crime cases that are active where you're actually causing more harm than good to the family members of the victims. They have no care at all in their bones for. I don't know how a parent, let's put it that way. You're a parent, I'm a parent, Deb's a parent. A lot of our close friends who cover this case are parents. And I don't know. I mean, I know how we all feel about this, but these people that are out there doing this, I don't know how they look in the mirror every day.
And that's a good point because I have brought this situation up many times on lives and say, what if it was your family? What if it was your child, your grandchild, your brother, sister, mother, father? whoever it is in your family gets taken out in the manner that these 2 young girls got taken out. How would you feel? It's like I was explaining, I don't know who I was talking to today, but it was like I told him, I said, look, in this kind of situation, I have to put myself in the family shoes and see how they're feeling and compared to how I feel. I felt the same way as they did. If it was my child, I'd probably lost my fucking marbles. Because I've watched enough court cases on TV when it comes to children where the parent or a family member's in the gallery and they completely jump over the fucking gallery thing and go after the inmate. I'm that type of person.
Hey, Teddy, did you see what Teddy said? He goes, hey, are we talking about lying pieces of shit?
Teddy.
Hey, Teddy.
And that's the way I look at things. And God forbid anything ever happens to anybody's children or family member, especially in this horrific way. But I'm telling you what, all you scarecrows, all you Delulu motherfuckers, karma's on your doorstep. Karma is on your doorstep. And like I said, by the grace of God, I hope nothing ever happens to anybody or their children or whatever. Karma is on your doorstep, and you better fucking remember that shit.
Well, I will also say to everyone that has followed so closely along with Delphi, and those people know who they are, who have followed the case, and have actually truly cared about the truth, finding the horrible individual that took these 2 precious lives. I'm going to put out there to all of you. We all have the ability as citizens of this country to go down to our local courthouse and sit in on a jury trial. And a jury trial in the criminal courts, I would even say a murder trial. Find one. Go from the beginning, from the time of jury selection. If you have the time to take the time to go down and do this. I don't say that you have to sit there every single day, but sit in for a few days. Pay attention to how the real cases work, how these cases work, because a lot of these internet attorneys and internet sleuths who think they know everything are giving you all a bunch of BS crap.
That's their job as defense attorneys.
Yes, they are not giving you the whole picture. Somebody just mentioned, why are they only showing bits and pieces or pulling bits and pieces out of his interviews? Because that's what they do. They pick and cherry pick what they want that's going to work with their narrative, and they leave out the rest.
Let's give some shout outs so we'll continue the conversation.
Sure.
Witchcraft, rescue all dogs. I hope you're having fun on that cruise. Well, I know I would be. X and O's, Phony, good to see you. GP, Karen Hicks, Tommy Solomon, Linda Harder, Cecil Hotel, Clever Alt Name, good to see you, buddy. CJK, Heidi Nixon, Linda Harder, Blades over here going over nuts over here. CJK. Vid, what's going on? Deludu, Louise, good to see you. Mustang.
Does he have to go outside?
No, he's on here playing. What are you doing, dude?
I just wondered.
Hey, I take him out right before I go on live.
He's doing his circles, so that's Loki's sign.
He's chasing his tail.
Oh God.
Let's see who else we got in here. Beth Gonzalez, Mustang, V. Marie, Deb's True Crime Notebook, Susie, there you are. Where you been? You're late. That's a new one. Jimmy Jet 66. Luna, Boston, Michael. Halloween's not until October. Christine Robbins, good to see you. A new name. There he is. There's the man. Phil Bond, good to see you. Teddy, I'm going to put the link in here if you want to come up here and bitch a little bit. Oh, and by the way, whatever mods I have in here, if you guys see questions in the chat and I haven't got to them, will you guys please pin it up there for me so I know it's there? All right. And there's Mr. Farmer. He was begging for a live because he posted in YouTube. Let me get the link in here real quick. All right, where you at? So I can pin it. There we go. All right. Now, what will we be talking about? The liars?
Mm-hmm.
What else were we talking about?
I'm just like, every time I turn around, somebody's doing some sort of I had surgery on the 14th. So I was in the hospital from the 14th to the 16th, sorry. The night of the 16th, I came home. I laid and watched tons of YouTube stuff. And I was not necessarily about Delphi, but just my normal YouTube stuff. But I was seeing all this stuff on my feed about all these people talking about, well, how did he do this? What about his, well, those clothes weren't his. What did he do with his clothes? I mean, all these things that these people are dredging up from that have been gone over and over and over and over.
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean, we've had the same questions.
All of them trying to point to reasonable doubt. And I'm like, okay, if you're only talking about that one thing, that might be reasonable. But that's not the only thing.
Right.
They're not looking at every single frickin' thing that has happened in this case. And yeah.
And I've caught these same people going over the documents, and they will intentionally skip over certain areas of the documents when they're reading them because it doesn't make them look good when the defendant look good. They're trying to make him look good to avoid all that shit.
I don't think you can make him look good.
But yeah. I do. There's a YouTuber that I want to address right now. I'm not going to use his name. I'll just go by his channel name. It's no name. That's what he uses. Whatever the hell your problem is, dude, leave me the hell out of it. I'm tired of being fucking tagged in your videos because my friends are doing their own thing as grown-ass adults, which they have the right to do. Whatever they're doing has nothing to do with me. Quit tagging me in your shit. And if I catch you again on the fucking property where I live at, your ass will go to jail. It's called stalking, dude. Don't think I didn't fucking download that fucking video you made to where you're going to try to delete it to where nobody can see it. Too late for that. Let me catch you on my fucking property one more time, dude. I'm not fucking around with you. Everybody wants to know who it is. Fucking Noe. Noe's stupid ass. Man, you need to stay away from that fucking nose candy. You're already in enough fucking hot water as it is with fucking Wabash courts. And then you want to post other creators' fucking spouses on your fucking YouTube channel. What the fuck is wrong with you, dude? You're lucky he's not been brought into it because that would not be pretty.
Yeah, when you start stalking family members, that's an issue. And I hope that you have contacted Nick, because if you remember, Nick said that anything that had to do with people harassing the family, he wanted to know about. So I would definitely make sure he's aware of that.
Well, of course, Becky's aware because I called her about it yesterday.
Yep.
To let her know that he's stalking me.
I guarantee you that Nick will put the fear of God into him.
I'm not fucking around. I let everything go. But when I keep consistently getting fucking notifications from YouTube, Noe has tagged me and shit. It was the last fucking straw.
It's just sad to not have a life to where you feel like the only kind of life you can have is to create chaos in other people's.
And you know, the bad thing about it is
awful.
the dumbass went to the wrong fucking apartment. He went to my old apartment on the property that I live in. I told you when I started this case, I went to the post office and asked him how to keep my address unpublished, and they exactly told me what to do, and that's what I did. You're not finding where I live at. Period. And if you happen to come across somehow to find out where I live at and you show up at my door,
woo,
I'm telling you, dude,
that might be a bad thing.
I know what the laws are here in Indiana. Trust me on that one. Fucking around with that damn nose candy freak. What the fuck, man? Sorry, I'm pissed now. You know, and like I said, and for you to be posting pictures of Mike up there like you're stalking and threatening to go back to the doghouse, they're well aware of what you're doing, dude. Every little thing you fucking do gets sent to me, and it goes right to the family. And I know that's what you're trying to do, cause ruckus. I don't give a shit, but I'm telling you, dude, karma's on your doorstep too. Yes, CJK, Lucille. There you go, Mustang. You know it. I don't fuck around. You know, I'm from Indiana. These motherfuckers here are crazy. So you got to be packing everywhere you go. Yes, I'm ready to melt the eyeglasses. And then I got word again, also information people are sending to me about allegedly Andrew Baldwin was hiring all these people, all these Delulus, and giving them access to the fucking discovery. Uh-oh, guess who's here? Guess who's here? Oh, shit. Uh-oh.
What are you yelling about?
Hi,
you know, motherfucker, you know what I'm bitching about. I'm tired of this shit, dude. I let it go for as long as I could.
What, a day? 2 days?
What do you
How
mean?
long did you get?
I have not been on YouTube in over a month.
Me too.
I'm trying to put this case to rest, but
Yeah, it's never gonna happen, dude.
It's not, Teddy.
It's never gonna happen.
But you know, now we've got people stalking the family members. I mean, that's just
Well, crackheads will do that when you leave them to their own devices.
True.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, you know, and it's just like Rescue got a hold of me about this shit about him posting pictures of her and her husband. And she said, "What do I do?" And I said, "Don't tell your husband."
Yeah.
don't tell your husband.
Yeah, definitely.
Leave him out of it.
Oh,
just keep quiet about it and let me say something about it.
Yeah.
Because he's already been to my property. As a matter of fact, he was about 50 yards away from my apartment when he showed up here.
Oh, that jokester?
Yeah. Noe.
Yeah. Come on.
You know? And I was telling people in the Discord, I said, man, I ought to offer him a challenge. Boot up, motherfucker. Let's just get this shit over with.
Yeah, but it would be looked at as a hate crime. You can't do that.
I think he likes this attention, you guys.
Yeah.
And I think, honest to God, I think he's the type of personality that if people ignore him, that would be the best way to get this guy to go away, because he likes this attention. He likes the fact that we're talking about him.
I don't think it's that. I really think he's just doing too many drugs. I really do.
I'm starting to wonder the same thing, man.
There's no wondering about it. Look at all the other people that are online going crazy, yelling, screaming, this and that on stuff that they have no proof of. It's all conjecture. And then you look at Noe, he's out there folding his clothes in a laundromat he just got kicked out of and doesn't say anything for 20 minutes. That's drugs, folks. Stay away.
But why do people follow that, Teddy, and watch it and give him airtime?
They watch court TV and listen to all the other lying motherfuckers out there too. And he's just somebody that says that he's a part of that crew, so they go with it. That's why.
Yeah.
They're all schizophrenic. At this point, that is the only conclusion you can come to. They will ignore everything you put in front of them. You could hand them everything on a silver platter, and
Oh yeah, I
it's
totally agree
never
with
the
that.
truth. So of course they're going to follow Noe and buy into whatever nonsense he's doing.
Yeah.
And
Well,
then
let's
there's
hope
some.
he goes to jail soon.
See, and then I want to address Bob Mata. I want to address
fuck him.
Angela Sadlowski.
I don't
And
care
I
about
want
him.
to address this Alfonsi Blade, whatever his fucking name is. Well, I'm going to do this one first. Now, I've seen this. Well, actually, Fig posted it on his YouTube channel. And when I saw that, I said, oh, hell no. Windows. So I wanted to address this because this is about the dumbest shit I ever seen in my life. It says, I really think that someone planted that unspent bullet at the crime scene to confuse and blame Allen. A knife was used in the murder, not a gun. So why else would a bullet be there? Now, you're a fucking idiot, Alfonso, whatever your name is. Do you really believe that court officials or court officers, law enforcement, investigators, family members are going to sneak in or break into the fucking Richard Allen's house and get a bullet to place it to scene before the murders or after the murders? Get it fucking real.
Frank, just wait a second before this goes off the rails.
I'm just like, you gotta be kidding me.
Let's be honest. We all know that there are bad cops out there, right?
Yeah, but come on, dude.
No,
You're not
no,
gonna
right,
tell
right,
me no
but-
fucking neighbor is not
Hey,
gonna see that
but-
shit.
Hey, Vig, you got him and he's here. Vig's in the house.
Uh-oh. Well, let's have some fun with this. So somebody goes and say they plant a bullet at a crime scene, an unspent round. Okay, great. Have you ever heard of anybody going through all the trouble of finding some random guy the day that they find out that this is a crime scene? They go and find some random guy. They sneak into his house. They grab whatever gun they find, and they grab a round out of there. They cycle it through his gun. They leave it at the crime scene. Okay, whatever. You know, in some cases, who knows?
The mod boss is in the house too.
But how
We
many
think-
cases do you know
I
where
have
they
not
wait
heard.
5.5 years
Right.
to get the guy that they planted evidence on?
Yeah,
And-
why would they wait 5 years? Come
Exactly.
on. We've talked about this before. If they were going to plant evidence or if they were going to try and pin it on somebody, they had the perfect patsy in Ron Logan.
Right.
They had him in jail. They could have kept him there and charged him with everything. What? Come on. They're not trying to pin this on somebody.
Yeah, but even without looking at anybody else, everybody says that Richard Allen was framed. Okay, then why did it take them that long to get to him? Those guys were going through hell. They were getting beat up every step of the way, not just by us on YouTube, but by the families too. You can't tell me that they're trying to go on TV every couple of years and give you some update. You know, they come out with the 2 different sketches. Everybody was freaking out about it, and rightfully so. At that point, none of us knew any better. And screw the sketches, but still, they're not going to do that when they had this guy that they planned to frame the whole time.
You know, when it comes to the sketches, everybody was like, well, why did all of a sudden did they switch from the old man to the young man? And I said, this is my opinion, and I believe this is what they did. They made it look like they were not looking at the old man sketch anymore to confuse him to think, well, hell, they're not looking at the guy on the bridge anymore. They're looking at somebody else.
Right. I don't think it's because they knew it was Richard Allen.
No, but they knew it was the guy on the bridge, and they were trying to make it look like it was.
They were trying to get him to be more comfortable so he would slip up.
I don't think that was it at all.
That's just my opinion.
I think they didn't have anything at that point, and they were trying to go in a new direction. So they took the very first sketch that they drew that didn't look to them like the guy that they saw on the bridge. Because, I mean, the one that they released originally, they got from the video.
You're talking about the Teresa Lieber sketch, right?
I'm talking about the older guy sketch, the one that was first released.
Right.
So the second younger guy sketch, was that not the first sketch that was done by a witness? That was done before the older sketch.
No, The old guy sketch wasn't done until July of 2017.
Right. And that younger guy sketch, the second one that they put out, that was the one that they did first.
That's the
correct?
one
Yeah,
they did
that was
first.
wasn't that Teresa Lieber's depiction of him, right?
I don't
I
believe
believe
so.
it was Teresa
No.
Lieber.
Listen, Teresa Lieber doesn't know what planet she's on. And no offense to her, I mean, to be completely honest, like, no, I think the person that she was, no, I think the younger guy sketch didn't come from her. It came from probably Betsy Blair, because she said she thought she saw a younger guy. And I believe
Right.
the second sketch, I'm not sure who. Yeah,
I
young
think
guy
that was
sketch
a
from Betsy Blair.
combination. I think
the
that was a
second guy
combination.
sketch was a combination of the three girls.
Yeah, and then the video, what they saw in the video.
Right.
And possibly, what's her? Dang it! Driving on 300.
Nah,
Sarah Garball.
Yeah,
she said she never saw his face, so I don't know how.
And that's another thing I wanted to get to. Thanks for bringing that up. Now, everybody's bitching and complaining. Well, they never identified, the witnesses never pointed out Richard Allen. First of
says
all,
the old guy sketches from Sarah Carbaugh.
Okay.
I don't know.
Let's get back to
And
what
the
I was
video.
saying.
Okay.
So I know it was a conglomeration of different witnesses. I know that.
If somebody's argument is nobody sat in court and identified Richard Allen as the guy that they saw, if that's what you're going off of, you should be publicly shamed in the street. That is the dumbest shit I've ever heard of.
That's what I'm getting at now. These witnesses they were not there to point out Richard Allen. They were there to give a description of what they saw, and I even verified this through LE. What they did with each witness is they took him in to interview. They slammed a picture down a bridge guy and said, "Who is that?" Each and every one of them said, "That is the guy we saw on the trail and who we saw on 300. It's not their job to find out who bridge guy is. That's law enforcement's job, not your witnesses.
That and the fact we got to go back to what we all keep saying and harping on that nobody listens to. Nobody pinned anything on Richard Allen. His own words pinned it on him.
Yep.
He went to law enforcement. He said, "I was there. This is what I wore. This is when I was there. This is
I saw these 3 girls.
I saw these 4 girls."
Kristen, you should call up.
They were like sisters. And who said that? We know for a fact that is exactly right then and there. That itself says he saw the girls, the 3 girls coming from Freedom Bridge, because there were 2 sisters. He also stated, "Yeah, I went out on the bridge. I went out under the first trestle. Yeah, I was there. I was there during that time." If he was there during that time, why is he the only one of all the people there, Teddy, at that time that didn't see Bridge Guy?
Don't ask me. I wasn't there.
He's being a smart ass.
But what I will say is you should call Vinny Politan up and try to get an interview, because they need a different perspective on that show.
No, shit.
Well, I've sent him messages.
Stuff at my TV when that guy comes on. I can't watch him anymore.
Well, have you noticed that that Murder Sheet has not been back on that show?
Good. You want to know why? Because they know what's bullshit and what's not.
But right. Who's on that train? Barbara McDonald. She's the producer.
Let me put it to you like this. This is my one gripe with people right now. All these people, Noe and whoever, there's a boatload of people I could name. All these people on the internet, I don't care a lick. Those 2 fucking assholes that got on court TV, the people that sat in that courtroom and got on court TV and told some outlandish, straight up lies, fuck those people. That is the most disgusting shit I've ever seen. How can you look at what we saw and then go on national television and not even talk? People can talk about their opinions, especially people that weren't there. I don't really care. People say some stupid stuff that doesn't make any sense to begin with. But if there's something about the case that's a little shaky for you or whatever, that doesn't bother me. It's the people that took up a seat, people that, you know, were gifted a seat and granted one, they could come in whenever they wanted to because they were royalty. And then they go on and talk about this, and they know that they have such a wide audience, and they lie like the lying pieces of shit that they are. It's not about, you know, this is a little murky. No, this is a fact. You heard every single witness tell you that these clothes were wet. You saw multiple horrific photos, and you saw these jeans that were wet. Now, if I was standing in front of Bob, what I would call him a couple choice words, but afterwards I would say, so Bob, what clothes did you mean exactly that were wet? The ones, or that weren't wet? The ones in the creek?
Yeah,
You think
exactly.
those were dry? Yeah, those ones were wet. Did you think the clothes that were on the body at the crime scene, those were the ones that were dry? Really?
And that's
you know
not
what
what the coroner said.
Yeah, listen, not even the coroner. I'm talking about every single person from the very first law enforcement officer that was at the scene. We sat right next to each other, Frank, that day.
Yeah.
Every single person that got up and said that they saw those girls up close to the crime scene, they all said the same thing. We noticed that the jeans were damp. Now, let's break it down like this, because all the crazy people out there will go, well, what about the hoodie? Well, let's see. If they walked across the creek, I don't care how high you think the creek is, because people will argue about it until the cows come home. It wasn't that deep.
No.
So somebody, Libby's height, because I'm convinced that Libby had her own clothes on when she crossed the creek.
See, I've been saying the same thing, but I just kept my mouth shut.
Regardless, it doesn't matter, because we'll never know. But regardless, you walk across the creek, the bottom of your jeans are for damn sure going to be wet.
Yep.
So when they end up on Abby, they're going to be wet. We were told that by people that were there. We weren't there.
Right.
But the 5 people that said that were there.
Yep.
You saw the pictures up close and personal. Don't fucking get on national TV and say, I don't know, when they had time to dry. You're the biggest piece of shit I know.
And then you got Bob Mata on there talking about, well, I keep hearing him say that he racked his gun. Well, if he racked his gun, how come there's no round on the bridge? You're a fucking man. If you know anything about guns, if the chamber is not loaded already and he racks it, there is not going to be a round ejected.
Once again,
I'm just like, why do you say stupid shit like that, Bob?
Take it from both sides, though. Say he was on the bridge and he did rack his gun and there was already a round chambered. What if it fell in the creek under the bridge and they never found it? Is that not a possibility?
Yep. There's always a possibility.
Right.
Always.
But the problem is that's what they get hung up on. It's like any defense. Like, I was just watching some of the Karen Reed stuff, and I think Alan Jackson is a much better defense attorney than what I saw in person in Indiana. But I still think the theatrics go way too far overboard. Their job, they try to pin the witness into looking stupid for the jury. They know that what they're saying is bullshit some of the time, but they're trying to weasel their way into them saying something wrong or them looking like they don't know what they're talking about, because defense attorneys know how to phrase questions. And
sometimes
it's like, look,
they do.
See, right. Sometimes they do. I mean, I think people should be allowed a great defense. But
absolutely. I'm not saying that, but to me, there's a difference between a great defense and being ethically compromised. And I think that this defense team has been so ethically compromised throughout this whole proceeding from day one. Seriously, from the time he walked down the steps and gave the first so-called press release after the first appearance in court by them for him.
You want to know why they did that?
I
said you want to know why they do that? No, go ahead, Frank. I'll get back.
I wanted to address KB. Said, Teddy, a time I identified BG in court with his voice. I trust him. Yes, they heard him, but I'm going to set the record straight. I went to every pretrial hearing, intentionally sat behind Kathy because I knew where Richard Allen would be brought into the courtroom, and he stopped every time and said hi and I love you to Kathy. When I heard him say hi and I compared it to Guy, I knew it was him. But what really made me convinced is when we heard the enhanced audio when he said hi, and I heard Guy in there, and I said, that is definitely him.
Yeah.
Now,
Well, I sat in the courtroom twice. I heard him talk twice, and I have no doubt in my mind that he is Bridge Guy, but that's the voice I heard on that video. But that was, I felt that way. But then after I saw him in the interrogation videos, oh, good Lord. I mean, yeah, come on. You know, we could break those down for a month of Sundays, but
changed his times 3 times. Changed his times 3 times while in the interrogations.
The way he gaslit Kathy Allen.
Oh, yeah.
I tried to explain. I tried my best to explain.
He didn't want her talking at all.
I mean, it was like, you know, to sit there and tell her, well, you're not in trouble. You didn't do anything wrong. She never said she was in trouble. She said, you didn't tell me you were on the bridge.
Yes, I did. I was on the first trestle.
Yeah, I was on the first trestle.
That was news to her.
Well,
now,
she's like,
let me
he's
tell
like,
you
well, I
something.
don't remember you saying that. It's okay, hon. You're not in trouble.
If that would have been my wife walking into a room like that, the first thing she would have done, she would have swung. She would have tried to kick my ass right there in that room.
Tell us more.
I'm just saying. He put the fear of God in her within seconds of her walking into that room.
Well, you know, the other thing that's funny about, if you look at the way that he went through both of those interviews, and then you compare it to, you know, his confessions over the phone that everybody thinks are so crazy because, you know, he had Odengard standing over him. If you notice when he's in those interviews,
that's so funny when I keep hearing that Odengard standing over him.
Yeah, I had to throw that out there. But if you listen to him answering questions when he's talking to investigators, he gives you every excuse in the book as to why it's not him. You know, which way did I go on the trails? Oh, this way, that way, the other way. When he's on the phone with his wife and with his mother, he's not trying to explain to them, hey, look, I did this. I'm sorry. You know, he's just trying to say, hey, I did this. I did this. He'll call them back the same day. Hey, I did this. That's a huge difference. That's how you can tell between somebody that's being truthful and somebody that's lying. Somebody that's being truthful in an interrogation, they're going to tell you exactly what they did. That's it. There's not going to be any conjecture or any, they're not going to get pissed off until the very end when they're exasperated, and that's it. He got exasperated as soon as he knew that they were starting to turn the table and put everything on him. That's when he started getting pissed off. And everything after that was 9 paragraphs of an explanation. It's like, dude, if you didn't do it, that's fine. Just say, I didn't do it. Are we done here? Get up and leave and get a lawyer. No, instead he sat there. He wanted to control even that first interview.
Oh, absolutely.
He needed the control of that interview.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's why he kept saying, we're done here. And then they would reel him back in because he's been the master of this narrative for 5.5 years.
Yep.
And it's interesting too, because when you hear the first call that they've released that they actually put up as an exhibit, you know, it's the middle of November. So it's right after he got arrested. I think that's when the situation started to hit him like, oh shit, you know, I thought that I was getting away with it, but I'm not, but I'm still not ready to confess. Like, I know I did this, but I've put it in the back of my mind since then. I've been trying my damnedest. And so he's emotional. He doesn't know what the hell's going on.
Well, they're saying that he was diagnosed with the dependent personality disorder. And my feeling is that when I look at this guy, and I'm not a psychiatrist, so, you know, take it what it's worth. I do have clinical background, but I'm not a psychiatrist. I look at this guy and I listen to everything he says and how he interacts with his mom and with her. And I've watched it so much since it's come out over and over again. This guy was completely in control of these 2 women. And what I mean by that is, look at how Kathy Allen appears when she comes into that room the first time with him. She's meek. She's down here. She's, you know what I mean? You can see that she's very uncomfortable. She's, you know, she didn't reach out and grab him and hug him and give him a huge kiss and, oh, honey, I'm so sorry you're going through this. What's going on? You know, they've been telling me this and that, and I know it's not true. She didn't do any of that.
No,
She
because
sat
in the
down.
back
She
of her
was
mind,
meek, and she's like, they told me that they have an eyewitness that they saw you out there on the bridge. How do they have an eyewitness? Do you see what I'm saying? I think at that point, Kathy Allen is realizing, maybe subconsciously, all these years she did know, and her conscience is now
Opening
exploding.
up.
And
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Inside of her head, going, my God, he did this. And I can't believe it. I won't let myself believe it. I really feel that way about her.
And then that's when the defense team came in and manipulated her even more.
Yep.
Absolutely. And I think that she is to me, she seems like a woman who can be easily manipulated. Sadly, you know, there's a lot of us out there that has happened to. But I'm just saying that I feel bad for the rap that she gets online a lot, because I know that a lot of it is speculation and nobody knows for sure. But from what I saw of this guy's cunning, Teddy. He's cunning. He's the scariest kind of criminal, because he didn't appear to be a criminal. He just appeared to be this guy over at CVS.
Go and listen to anybody who their loved one was looked at as really looked at as a suspect of something. Any taped interview or police body cam of anybody, their first reaction is there's no way. And they're very resolute on that. And maybe over time, given the situation, they say, you know, oh, okay, you guys are bringing out evidence. She seemed very unsure right from the start.
Well, I will say this, you know, Kathy's a victim too.
She is.
Yes.
And everybody has to understand that.
She absolutely is.
You know, her whole world was turned upside down, no matter if she knew anything or not.
We all
lost her house.
We all get to look at
what
this.
she knows or when she knew it, and
for
us to you know, be judge and jury and executioner with her is wrong.
And if law enforcement really thought that she, you know, had exactly, you have to understand that with this case and just about anything else in life, when stuff actually comes out to the point where you can see it and you can hear about it, at that point, it's already been going on for a while.
Yeah.
We have a bird's eye view of all this, and we're all emotional about this case. So while I have my little gripes with Kathy Allen, because I don't understand how somebody couldn't see their husband as that person, I also completely understand why, even if you had that thought originally, you'll push that right out of your mind.
I think our
brain, like Victoria says right here,
brain is doing that to protect you.
Right, exactly.
It's
a defense mechanism. It's a defense mechanism.
And I think just as much as Richard Allen had a dependency disorder on her, I guarantee you, for as long as they've been together, that she has a dependency disorder on him.
Absolutely.
They share a daughter together. They have a life. Like, her whole world was him.
Yes.
It's not her fault that he's the defective person that he is.
And that's why he kept using, you're going to still love me, right? You know what I mean? He was manipulating the hell out of her and his mother. It just...
At that point, I don't think he was necessarily manipulating them. I think he truly was broken down because he knew that there was nothing else that he could do or say that was going to get him out of this. And he had to come clean. So he said what he said without any details, just to get it off of his conscience and tell the people that he loved and find out how they felt. Because I think in his mind, his warped, twisted mind,
well,
that
Victoria
if they don't love him,
Victoria says, nope, you don't give someone a free pass forever in rallying, which I totally agree. at some point in time, Kathy's going to have to face reality and say, my husband did this.
Yeah.
Period.
And I think after trial, like, you got to understand, like, these defense attorneys put one over on all of us at some point or another since they came on, and they absolutely did it to Kathy. I mean, that's
There's
their
no
bread
doubt.
basket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I keep hearing people talk about, well, the timeline's not right. There's no way that he could have been there from 1:30 to 3:30. He said he got there from noon. Let me tell you something about this supposed timeline. Richard Allen allegedly left his parents' house at what, 11:30 that morning, right?
Whatever he said.
Goes to the liquor store, drives 45 minutes back to Delphi, drinks some beer, goes home, layers up on clothing. By that time, you're looking at 1 o'clock. At least 1 o'clock.
I believe his time frame that he gave originally, when he gave his time frame on February, what was it, the 15th?
16th?
16th?
15th. Was it? I thought it was the 5th.
Who the hell knows? It really doesn't matter. It's all
I was just going to say,
right.
a day or two after the girls were found, when he came in voluntarily.
It was the 15th.
Through the sheriff's office. Thank you very much. I've been trying to tell people that for months. No one believed me. I was like, it came from his mouth, man.
Yep.
Came from his mouth.
He probably lied about it, though. Who knows?
Yeah, and there was a reason why he didn't want to be interviewed at the sheriff's office.
Absolutely.
Or give a statement.
5.5 years later, yeah, I'm sure.
Well, no, I'm talking about the beginning.
Even in the beginning, he wouldn't, because he called them and they said, can you come in? And he said, I can't meet you down there. He wanted to be met. He did not want to go there.
He turned his tip into the sheriff's office, and when they got back around to speak to him about it, that's when he told them that.
Yeah. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, I don't get people that, even the people, like I said, in my world, in my personal real world, that have known that I followed this case and covered this case for so long, and some of them have started following it 6 years ago, 7 years ago, and they've all got to see the video and all the all the evidence that's been released so far. They didn't have a clue. I mean, I didn't try to influence them on any of this. I wanted them to see it and make their own decisions, and there hasn't been one of them that felt he was innocent. And my best friend's husband, who's the judge, who you guys all know that I've always gone to with a lot of my questions and answers throughout this case, he has seen every single document, because every time Frank sent it to me, I sent it to him. He's looked over every single thing that's been out there for everybody to see, plus all of the evidence that we have. And he said there is absolutely no way. If it was a bench trial, he would have found him guilty.
Yeah.
And that's all I need to hear. I mean,
I got asked yesterday, and me and you talked about this, what I was involved in yesterday, Kristen. What do you think was the most damning evidence? To me, it would have been the van. To me, that was the most damning, because that had never been released to the public in nearly 6 years until we went to trial.
I think that was the nail in his coffin. But I think the most damning to me evidence was from his own mouth. Everything that he said from his own mouth. Putting himself at the crime scene during the time, wearing the same clothes as the guy on the bridge. We know the guy on the bridge is the one who led the girls down the hill. Again, going by just the law and not by anything else, you guys, that's enough to convict him. He led them down the hill.
All right.
Remember that. We don't have to prove that he took them across the creek.
No.
And actually was the one who killed them. What Richard Allen did at that point on the bridge was enough.
I'll tell you mine, but Kristen, I got a little beef to settle because I heard something on a previous live, and I just want to set the record straight because I feel like with me, people get this confused. So before I went to trial, I did not think he was innocent.
No,
I
I
heard you.
remember that. You told me that when I met you.
Well, I heard on one of the last lives something like that, and I was like, well, hold on a second. No, I give everybody the benefit of the doubt, especially somebody in his position that we didn't know who the hell this guy was at all. I mean,
I know you felt that way and Tom felt that way. I know I said that I talked about Tom on one of my lives because Tom told me that when he came into this, he thought that he was innocent.
yeah, I didn't really think one way or the other. I just thought when I first saw that they arrested
Well,
someone,
not necessarily innocent, but they
right,
hadn't seen the proof
right.
to prove him
I
guilty.
mean, in my opinion, like the PCA on its face is not good enough to the public. But when you hear it and you see it all in a row, it makes sense. But it doesn't make sense written out. It seems weak. So before I came into it, I said, well, they didn't arrest him for no reason. I mean, they have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he's guilty. I highly doubt in a case this big, they're going to arrest some random guy when we've been talking about Keegan Kline for the last year and a half.
Right.
There ain't no way.
Right.
So I just kind of, I would sit there and talk to myself in my car on the way to work and just go over everything. Like that's how much I thought about it. And it didn't.
A lot of people gloss over the fact of what you guys heard in court and the fact that when the psychologist that saw him at Westville was testifying, Dr. Walla, she talked about the fact that Richard Allen confessed to her that he had a sexual addiction.
Yep.
Did she not?
Yep.
Did you guys not hear about that?
I don't remember the exact wording, so I can't speak on it. But
And my feeling is that has all been kind of just brushed under the carpet. People don't talk about that. They don't talk about the fact, and I have, that talked about this. We brought it up. Frank and I talked about this on lives about the fact of, to me, it is important as to what his fantasy world was like, what kind of a fantasy life this man had. Where was he getting his fantasy information? Was he getting it? We know his search history. They got some of it. It was weird. There was only her and him in the house. I mean, obviously they probably had the daughter and the son-in-law over on occasion and friends, but most people, you're not allowing them access to your computers and they're going in and searching bizarre crap. That's just doesn't normally happen that way. But my point is that this guy is not who everybody thought he was, and he was living a double life, in my opinion, whether that be a fantasy life or he has offended in some other fashion years and years ago, never caught. We know there are tons of offenders out there that have never been arrested. Because I got sick of people saying that this guy didn't just kill 2 girls and at 45 years of age, and this is his first crime.
I think he did. And you want to know why? Because he's 45 years old.
Midlife crisis.
People hide themselves.
Yes.
They hide themselves. We all live double lives.
Yep.
No one can lie about that. We all live double lives.
You're absolutely right. And we all have skeletons that we don't want people to see.
The problem is you think about this before all the evidence was really, even before trial. I have to give people the benefit of the doubt. They weren't able to sit in and hear everything that we heard at the exact time and hear it in its entirety.
Yeah,
I get that. If I was not somebody that was there, I would be going nuts right now trying to get all the information and wondering who I could believe. And after watching the news and everybody else that's gotten up there, I know I would be that way because you're getting 12 different answers. But the one problem that I had with that trial, and the only questions I still have, they rest with him. The crime itself, the timeline to me is so solid. Mm-hmm. And it was solid before, but I really needed to hear from these. I needed to see what these people were like. I really expected that there was either going to be somebody that I thought was kind of shady or sleazy. And I also thought that there was going to be, 1 or 2 pieces of bombshell evidence that they were really holding close that was going to put all the pieces in line for me. And that wasn't the case. It was almost exactly as they had been trying to say it from the PCA onward. And
for me, the same thing. I feel like I've followed the case since day one. And I felt like I kind of knew these investigators, but I didn't. I didn't know who they were. I never met them, didn't know anything about them. And, you know, there's always been stuff out there that that there's shady stuff in Carroll County, and Carroll County's corrupt, and you hear all these things. And there's been numerous lawsuits against the jail and, you know, the sheriff and all kinds of stuff.
Sure.
But with all of that being said, when I finally got to meet Jerry Holman in person, and I finally got to meet these people that absolutely poured everything that they had. You could see it, to see it in their faces and see their emotion, and that it was real and raw. To listen to Nick describe afterwards in interviews about how he looked at the case differently once he had his daughters. You know, once you become a parent, things are so different when you look at the death of children, and when it's children that are murdered, it's far worse. So for these men and women that were working this case for all of these years, for people to think for 1 second that they're going to go out there and try to railroad some guy 5.5 years later, knowing that they have to get up every day and look at themselves in the mirror and their own children in the mirror. I'm sorry, I don't buy it. I never did buy it. I won't buy into it. Does that mean that they're all rosy, clean, and did everything by the book? Probably not. But that doesn't mean that doesn't mean that they didn't have the want and the wherewithal to know the most important thing was justice for Abby and Libby. And
let me get to this real quick. Teddy, I don't know if you want to answer this, but somebody's asking where you're from.
I'm from, where am I from?
Northeast of United States.
The Northeast, where it's ridiculously cold.
Where it's cold, where he gets really cold and lots of ice.
Yeah, and I become an asshole for most of the year, so you definitely don't want to be friends with me. All I do is bitch and complain.
Nah, you don't do none of that until you get a few cocktails in you.
No, unfortunately, so you guys don't know me when I don't have a few cocktails in me, and I still do that shit. But yeah, I was gonna say that there wasn't any one piece of evidence for me that really sealed the deal. If you look at, aside from the interviews, if you look at any one piece of evidence, obviously the unspent round, there's still some subjectivity to it, and I understand where people come from with that, but you look at the preponderance of the evidence.
You can't just look at one piece. That's what he's saying, guys. You've got to look at all of it.
You have to with a crime like this, because it's not obvious. It's only obvious when you have somebody that you've been directed.
It's obvious when you have it all in front of you.
Right, exactly. And that's how every crime is. So it's not one piece, it's everything. And I've said this from the beginning, as soon as they had someone in the spot of Richard Allen, everything made sense. They had to piece it together, but it all made sense after that. They had the Hoosier Harvest Store camera. They had this round. They had all the answers in front of them from the beginning. But some guy that was living a couple miles away, they couldn't find him for 5.5 years. And the sad and really terrifying part of this whole thing is, if he hadn't opened his big fat mouth, they probably still wouldn't know who it is. So that's a lesson learned for everybody.
Well, the way that these creators and people on YouTube have treated Kathy Schenk, I just can't.
Because keyboard warriors abound.
You know, it's horrible. That little lady is the sweetest lady. I was so thrilled to get to meet her, and for her to stand there and look at Frank and I and say how much she followed the case, and when she did get online to watch, that she actually watched him and I because she felt that we were two of the people that weren't crazy and weren't giving out crap every day.
Right.
Well, that's
You know,
sweet.
we were trying to stick as much to facts as we could and support the family and support law enforcement and what they were doing. Did I agree with everything law enforcement did in this case? Absolutely not. Do
Would
I
you
feel
ever?
that they could have been more forthcoming with information? Yes, but I also know that it's not for us to know. We
Right,
don't
right.
need, we're not on a need to know basis.
And look back on it. Them not giving out information, the only one that really came back on was themselves.
Right.
They screwed themselves. It's not like they screwed anybody else. Now they're still getting heat for it. And I don't think any of them care because it's over.
Right.
Right.
Nothing, like, we're on the internet, like, we're talking about it, but this is one
Well-
conversation out of your whole life.
Right.
These
But we're
people-
not the ones going out here and making asses of ourselves.
Well,
you know what I mean.
Speak for yourself. I can't say that, but
You know what I mean. Pulling
I
false
know
information.
what you mean. But yeah, that's the thing, is when people are behind their keyboard and they don't have to face people in real life, albeit if you're not on drugs, because drugs will make you do crazy things.
Hey,
We've
now
all
I smoke
seen it.
my weed.
Well, I'm jealous of you, sir. I'll be completely honest. I'm jealous of you. But yeah, if you're doing hard drugs and you're out there folding your laundry on a bench after you just got kicked out of the laundromat, like some psychopaths do, that's the difference. So don't worry about all the other people that are coming in and trying to push in it. These people don't know either. Listen to the people that are, look back at all the stuff that we were trying to tell you 5 months ago about some of the exhibits and the interviews and all this. Go back and listen to that and then compare it to what you know now. And that's how you decide who's trying to give you, like, I got things wrong. I thought that the picture in his keepsake box was him and his Walmart buddies. Guess what, guys? I was dead wrong. It was his daughter's radiology graduation. Like, stupid shit like that I got wrong because I wasn't at my house on my computer, listening to interviews with my headphones in. We did our best, but I'll tell you what, we were damn near close to exactly what was said. You don't hear us on court TV spreading absolute garbage.
Right.
And then
right.
trying to go around to other cases and doing the same thing. That's not the point.
No. And that bullet, that unspent round in that keepsake box is huge.
It would be if it wasn't planted.
Huge.
Sorry, I had to.
Absolutely huge.
It
and
is.
even Kathy, of all the questions I had for Richard Allen, Kathy asked some of the questions I needed to know. She asked him, and she asked him about it.
You know what I want to ask him?
And he completely skirted over that. I love you, and I could never do this, right? He never answered her about that round and why it was in that box.
Well, I don't think she had. I mean, it didn't seem like she had any idea of what was in that box. I mean, do you like go through your husband's personal things on a regular basis? And
Absolutely not. We just celebrated 45 years. He's got two keepsake boxes on his dresser.
Right, you never
But I
know.
don't go
Kristen.
through
You might want to go look through them because you never know.
Good God, I don't know what I might find. It's
What?
spooky.
But no, I mean, the only thing that I want to ask the guy is, why isn't a regular fork or a spoon good enough? Why do the in between? I don't understand that. I feel like that'll tell you a lot about a person. If you got to use a spork,
Let
don't
me
trust
address
you.
this real quick. Luna, she says his daughter wants nothing to do with him. We do not know that.
Nope.
We don't, but I wouldn't doubt it.
Well, yeah, we can speculate all we want, but we don't know what's going on behind closed doors with
Hey,
that family.
Ruckus.
We don't.
There-
And
Sending
people.
huge hugs.
What's up, Bruck? Bruck does whatever the hell he wants, I think. It's on his badge.
He
That's all
certainly
I know.
does. And he told us, Ruckus, he told us all along.
Then you should believe it, huh?
Yes. Spend a day with Ruckus and you'll have a whole different perspective on Ruckus. Trust me.
Oh, I know. I'm just busting his balls.
He's a hoot, though. I've never met him in
seriously,
person.
he knows his shit.
I agree.
He knows his shit, and he should get the respect because, you know, he told us all along Richard Allen was guilty and that he was going to come out, and one way or another, it did. He's been over the case for a long time.
Amen to that.
But listen, guys, we've been at it over an hour. And like I said, I just wanted to come on here for a little bit and address some of this shit that's going around again. And I'll say it one more time. To all you dumb fucks, karma is at your doorstep. Remember that.
Somebody wants to know, what about Angela?
Angela who?
I don't know. Crime Jester
I
says,
know.
what
She
about
thinks she's
Angela?
important, but.
Did you address Angela?
Angela who? Angela who?
What's
I
up,
don't know
boo?
what they're talking about.
There, I addressed her.
Is it Swarovski?
Oh, Angela Sadowski. That girl, I saw her on that CW the other day, and she, I said what I said in the Discord. I can't say it on live YouTube. Teddy,
But I'm here to tell you that CW thing that they put out a few days ago.
It
that
was all bias.
That was bias BS.
Yep.
Angela,
Yep.
what's up, boo? What's good?
You know, but I've been getting word that the defense, more or less Baldwin, was the one who was paying these people outside of the defense to spread us a false narrative. You know,
I didn't hear they were paying the people. I heard it was the other way around. That's all I'm gonna say.
And they had access to the discovery. And I told a couple people that contacted me about it. If you can get me proof of this, believe me, I'll be making a call. Because if that's the case and it's truly legit, he needs to be disbarred as an attorney.
Absolutely. They all do if that's the case.
No,
and if that is true.
No,
and I will holler to anybody out there that's got actual physical credible evidence of that. They need to contact Nick McClelland immediately.
No. See, what you got to do, stop looking at the attorneys. The attorneys are the ones that are front and center. You got to look at the underlings. You got to look at the investigators.
Well, that's
just,
true.
You're talking about what's her name?
No, I'm not talking about. And no, I'm not talking about her. She's not worth my breath.
No, she's not, because I did some digging into her, man. I'm just
well, we all have. Listen, guys, don't do shit to cats. Don't do that. But that's not what I'm talking about. All I'm saying is, look at the middlemen. And our blonde friend, she's a middleman. She may be not standing on her feet the whole time, but she's a middleman. That's all I'm going to say. And with that, I love you guys.
Love you.
I'm going to bounce.
Love you, Teddy. Good to see you, bro.
Be safe out there.
Yeah. Bye. Kristen,
I'm going to hop off too, guys.
And thank you to everybody that turned out tonight. It's been a while. Thank you. I love you guys. To all my mods, thanks for hanging in there and keeping an eye on my chat. But if anything else comes up that I need to address, you know where I'm coming, guys. So once again, thank you. Kristen, love you.
Love you too. Talk to you later.
Good night, everybody. Peace out. One love.